is Amanda Ege, host of the Poet Speaks podcast. Welcome to season 5. I talk to poets from all over the world engaging in spoken word, slam poetry, and oral traditions. And we were named as one of Strategic Media Inc.'s top 5 podcasts by Black creators in February of 2022. Tune in weekly to listen to me and poets talk about performing, oral tradition, and most importantly, they tell me why they need to get their words out. And guess what? If you or your organization wants to be a guest or a sponsor of our podcast, let us know and message us on Instagram and Facebook at the Poet Speaks Podcast. Enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Poet Speaks Podcast. Now, our next guest is a poet and professor from South Central Los Angeles. Her first book of poetry, Be Trouble, was released by Writ Large in 2020. When she's not sharing her poetry, she hosts 2 Instagram series, Young Black and Tenure Track, where she documents her experiences in higher education, and we be reading. Wednesdays, where she discusses her romance reading obsession. Everyone, welcome to the podcast, the amazing Bridgette Bianca. Bridgette, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm just imagining the crowd going wild. They don't know me, but they're going to know me after this. So thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm doing great. So as I read there, you're from Los Angeles. Are you currently in LA now, or are you elsewhere?
Yes, I'm right here in South Central Los Angeles as we speak. So you might hear a little South Central bleed through from the outside. I live on a very busy street, so you might get a little bit of flavor. It's a little early in the day, so maybe not, but it's a Friday. So you really never know. You might hear somebody say something, say, hey, holla, or just scream for no reason. You might get anything. But yeah, I'm in LA right now.
That's cool. We got the nat sounds of South Central. That's how you got to do it, right? That's how you got to do it. And then, I'm so curious. So are you an LA native, born and raised in LA, blood LA? Like you're not blood like that, but your blood is LAian. Is that born and raised there? Or are you transplanted?
Thank you for the clarification. I'm LA born and raised. I am LA born and raised. My family is from the South, as you know, most African-American families travel up from Louisiana, and I'm the first generation born and raised in LA. So I'm very much LA down to my boots. And then of course, South Central LA is a little bit different. I got to make sure people know it's not just Hollywood. South Central's doing something a little bit different over here, so South Central Inglewood, that's me.
Absolutely. It's I think a lot of people do have that perception about just LA in general, that it is just that Hollywood or like whatever, just the kind of the stereotypical of the Californian experience. Tell me a little bit though, did poetry find you in South Central LA, or did you come to find it elsewhere as you progress through your career, obviously with academia? How did poetry kind of find you? Was it LA? Was LA the spot?
Yes, poetry found me at Horace Mann Middle School in South Central LA, doing my little service work hours, little elective period in the library at my middle school, like the only place that had an abundance of books, which obviously is where I wanted to be immediately. And I started reading a lot of poetry while working in there, shelving the books and things like that. And I was like, oh, I like this a lot. And then I started writing shortly after. I always wanted to be a writer, so I knew that was going to happen. I just didn't know poetry was going to be the thing. Poetry seemed so difficult or different, or it had to be old or be Shakespeare. And then I was in the library reading all these books by Black writers over time. And I was like, oh, I could do that. And so I started. And so that's poetry found me right here in the hood, in the only place that had a whole bunch of books in my entire school, which is strange to say about an entire school, but the poetry found me right here. And then I just kept chasing it.
Yeah. Wow. For you all, I mean, like in South Central, would you say there was a support team, a poetry community out there when you were kind of honing that for yourself? Would you say there's like a lot of South Central poets? There's a kind of a scene out there?
Yes, absolutely. I think when I was younger, I didn't know where to look necessarily for poets in South Central, right? I knew that there are like poetry spots and open mics and spoken word venues, but I wasn't aware, right? And so I really became more aware of the LA poetry scene after getting my MFA, after, coming out of grad school and looking for a place to kind of feel like home, especially places that had a lot of Black writers, that had writers of color, that had people who were like me. And so, yeah, the LA poetry scene is popping. The South Central LA poetry scene. I live just a couple blocks from the Sims Library of Poetry, which is the only library of poetry this side of Mississippi, period. It's like one of the largest collections started by Hiram Sims. I have a collective with another poet named Gustavo Guerra Vasquez. We're representing South LA called South Central Spits Fire. We are all over the place. Got Leimert Park up the street with the World Stage. I mean, it's here, right? And it's so funny because I remember hearing somebody say, "Oh, the LA poetry scene is dead," and I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm the LA poetry scene. I'm sitting here, like I'm doing gigs every week, that kind of thing." So I think um, if folks don't see us, that's cool. But we're here anyway. So they just tap in a bit, they'll find us via LA poetry scene, South LA, all the corners of LA, to be honest. Every corner has its own little thing. We all kind of vibe and then we come together for certain events.
Yeah. I think so much too. Like, what do you think? And you tell me, as someone from born and raised in South Central, do you think there's a stereotype around South Central to where they wouldn't think things like literature and the arts are very like are a part of the DNA of those communities and that community specifically?
Absolutely. People discount us all the time. They discount anything that has a very big Black or brown presence. And that's by nature, that's by infrastructure, that's systemic, that's systematic, that's everything, right? You don't value the arts in our community, so you don't put money into it in our schools. So then why would you suddenly come out and be an artist? You can't make money that way. Your only goal is to make money like that. Absolutely, there's a stereotype there. And it's so funny because as far as me, like being a professor on that side of things, I can look at literature and literary history for African Americans in particular, and I can look at any large collective of Black people. There will be an explosion of art and culture, right? Like that. So, and even in the dreariest of situations, there'll be an explosion of art and culture coming out of that. We got the blues, for heaven's sakes, right? That didn't come out of a rich neighborhood. So, like, it's really funny that people discount it, but I think that's to their detriment and not ours. It's like, oh, discount me if you want to, and then let me come, like melt your face off when you come to a show and you hear us, like you realize what you've been missing. So I don't mind if they discount us as long as they don't talk down on my work. Once they
Yeah.
hear it, they can't really, you can't
Yeah.
deny it. Once you know better, you do better. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. What is your favorite part about the LA poetry scene? What's like the favorite? What is your favorite part?
I like how different everybody is. Like, I like that we don't all sound the same. We don't all do the same things. We don't all read the same poetry. I can go to a show, and if it's well curated, there's somebody doing erotic poetry, there's somebody doing social justice poetry, there's somebody who's like a legit like musician who's like, in the moment improvising alongside their poetry. There's everybody there. And so that means a person like little old me can just fit in, right? I don't have to worry about like, well, everyone else is different from me. I might get a little intimidated if there's people where I'm like, you are so good. Like, what am I doing here? But I also know that when it's my turn, it's my turn. Like I'm not second up, I'm not second best. So that is what I love about the LA lit scene. I think other lit scenes can say that too. And no shade, nobody else. People got their thing going on. You know what I'm saying? But as far as what I notice, there's no one LA sound. You know, we are all so different. And or a place like LA where people are like, everybody in LA is the same, everybody in LA is fake, everybody in LA does this. Like, nah, huh? Nah, you got to come to where the arts are going down, the real arts, and you will see we are different. And that is the beauty of it.
And you know what? I think that that's such a funny thing because I believe like a lot of people that is the stereotype of just LA. It is fake, it is phony, it is materialistic. But I have this theory. I think that it's the people maybe that are kind of I want to say almost they're immigrating to LA, the transplants that come to LA seeking maybe some of those stereotypes, right? The people, everyone that I've met that's like born and bred in LA, they have such a different take on it. What do you think about that? They don't describe it as the materialistic fake thing. Am I off or on with that?
I think you might be onto something. I always say that you get out of LA what you look for in LA. So if you show up looking for glitz, glamour, if you show up looking for the shiny things, for the, whatever your industry is, but you show up looking for that, you will find it. If you go to those places, that's where you want to be, that's where you want to hang around. If that's your thing, then that's what you get when you get here. But if you show up like me, I moved back from college, went to Howard University in DC. I came back home, and it was so different to be back home, obviously, right? But like, I just fell right back in the place of like, I'm a regular person going to school or going to work or whatever it is. I wasn't into like the scene of LA necessarily. And folks that I knew who moved here later, they're like, yeah, I'm trying to pop in, be in Hollywood tomorrow. I'm trying to go to so and so. I'm downtown. I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be over here in South Central LA being normal. I like to be close to a good catfish sandwich and barbecue. I like to be down the street from a liquor store. I don't necessarily need to be where everybody's popping on, Rodeo or Robertson or whatever it is. So you get out of what you look for. Now, some people come here looking for the, the life and they get it and they realize like that wasn't actually what I wanted. So I just say, come on down to 405, you know what I'm saying? Come on down to where the regular people at and you'll get something a little bit different. So I'm so glad you said that. And I didn't say that, but I think you might be right.
You know, I born and raised in Sacramento, California. So like I mean like just you just hop in and out like Bay Area, LA, like those were just always common stops that we would just pop in and out. And I went to college in Davis, California. So we would just be all over. I mean, and it would be the same thing that everyone native in LA, they'd be like, that's the people coming here, Amanda. That's not us. Like that. That literally is what everyone would say. But no, I just find it so interesting to have that kind of dialogue. Anyway, you know, kind of going back to your work, you know, you describe yourself as someone that's seeking to serve the people in moments most forgotten or ignored. Now, what has that phrase meant to you? Because you know, you're no small ting in this game. You're definitely a big thing. You may kind of be very humble, but like a lot of people know your work. It's like from the start of your career of writing poetry to now, what does that now mean, seeking to serve people in moments most forgotten or ignored? How does that look from the beginning to where you're at now?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. I think I first put that in my bio, like in the very beginning, before I had anything for anybody to look at, read, or do anything, because I felt like when I was young, when I found poetry, you know, in middle school, when I was looking at poetry in high school, that people were not looking for me in poetry. They weren't, you know, publishing for little Black girls in South Central LA. They weren't looking for people that wanted to hear about their lived experiences and not hear about it in a traumatic way all the time, but like a celebration of their experiences. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll write poetry that represents me, that I want to see, that I want to hear, because I'm being ignored in you know, in the larger scale, especially in academia. And then when I got to graduate school, it was so funny. I was at Howard for undergrad, and it was like everything was like, yes, this is about us. We represent each other. We show each other. We're, you know, I got to graduate school and they were like, don't be too mundane. Don't be too everyday. It should be more complex. It should be this. And I'm like, what about accessibility? What about the kid on the street who's not going to go buy a book of poetry, who's never going to show up to an event? They're not going to pop into the library to find a book, but they might hear a poem on the internet, or they might pop into a class one day and somebody might come to visit. Like, what about that everyday person that you're not considering because they're not the poet's audience, right? They're not that audience is going to go to Barnes Noble and buy the books, is going to show up at the reading. That's the person I'm writing to. So one day they can be like me in middle school, maybe stumble across this book or any book and be like, yo, I'm in this. This actually represents me. Like, I want to write for those people. So that's what that means to me. Because we're always getting ignored from something, or somebody's ignoring us about something. And I feel like the one thing my poetry can't do is ignore the people who are me, right? Who the person I was. So that's what it means to me.
Has it meant the same thing to you, obviously, from beginning to now? Does it look different at all?
It only looks a little bit different because recognizing the scope and the access I have now to spreading poetry is different now. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I thought like, oh, you publish a book and then everybody reads it. And then that's what you do. And people get it in their hands. And then I published a book and then the pandemic happened. And I was like, okay, so it's only been a month. How do I get people to read this book? And so it really became important to make sure that I was marketing myself and marketing my book out to people who would be ignored, and really actively, like not just like I was like, I can go on a tour, I can go around different places. I'm doing gigs. Like, no. Now you on Zoom. Now you're on Instagram Live. Now you're on Facebook. How are you gonna get this poetry to people? And so it meant different things because I'm like, okay, my access point has changed, and how
Yeah.
people find me has changed. And so how do I change too? So I became a lot more vulnerable online, a lot more personable, a lot more, hey, this is who I am, and I also do poetry. Oh, you want to hear it? Okay, cool. Like I literally was pulling people in from other angles. And so that's what it meant to me. Yeah, it's changed a bit in that way.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you kind of say that, because it is this thing of like you do find yourself as you kind of grow as an artist, there is like a point where you're like, damn, I do wish I could still do those same thing I was doing before. But it's the ultimate exception that you have to come to the exception in your own heart, mind, and soul. Like I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. So my art has to grow with me. You know what I mean? Like I have to reach people where I'm at, and then I have to invite them in. Do you find yourself at this point in your career where you're like, you know what, I've grown and I have to let the people grow with me, instead of, you know, I can't go back to what I have to let them grow with me. Do you find yourself at that point in your career right now with writing?
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a moment where I didn't write for like 5 years. I was like, I'm too busy, y'all. I don't got time for this. I gotta teach. I gotta work. Poetry's not paying nothing, and people not publishing me, whatever. And I recognized that I could never go that long again, right? Because I need poetry in a way I don't think I needed it before. I needed to express. I need to get things out. Not even that the expectations of other folks around me is something that, but like people are like, so you writing? Are you writing? You writing things right now? Like I have an audience who's like, okay, so the reading tomorrow, you got anything new you're going to be breaking up? Like I got that now, which feels good because that's how I write. Community influences me and puts things in front of me, makes me want to write. But yeah, absolutely. I look at who I was when I wrote even this book, Be Trouble, and that was in like 2017, 2018 when I was writing that book, and I'm not that person anymore. Obviously, we've experienced, I mean, just in the past 3 years, a dramatic change in life and how life is lived. So I know that my next book won't sound like this, right? Like Jay says, you want my old shit, buy my old album. This is gonna be a new thing whenever this comes together, and that's okay because I think that audiences are a lot more savvy than we give them credit for. I think that they want to hear something new, something different. They don't even know who you are. They pick the book up and they learn through that book. So why not give them a new you every time? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm saying that big talk right now. It's big talk right now because the book ain't together. But when it comes together,
Yeah,
okay,
of course. Yeah.
it'll feel a little bit different.
Absolutely. No, that's kind of such a big thing. And I think a lot of artists, no matter what the form, but I think especially in writing poetry, it is kind of people feel like, well, damn, can I capture the last success I had? Do I have to write about that same thing now for like the next book? And I think people get stuck in that cycle for sure of like, well, I mean, this formula works, so I have to let me just do that formula again. And it's hard for some people to break out of that. So no, I think it's so great that you're speaking to that. Kind of speaking more to your work. So you work with literary, you curate, you have your own team, right? Now, kind of explain this a little bit more. It's called Making Room for Black Women. What do y'all do with that, and how does that kind of function, and how's that function through your writing as well?
Thank you for asking that question. So, making room for Black women was an idea that my best friend Sonora Williams came up with me. We were invited to guest curate a couple of readings. Well, one reading at first for our mentee, mentor, Natasha Dayon. She was hosting a series called The Table Lit, and she would have writers come in and she would pair them with more experienced writers, and they would host events, right? So she asked me, do I want to be a part of it? Because I was a writer, she already knew Sonora, that was already her mentee. And so I said, yeah, I want to do it, but only if the two of us can do it. And neither of us have any experience in doing this, right? My best friend ran a book subscription box service. I'm a poet over here. Like, we're not curators. And we learned so much. And we ended up hosting 3 events with her, and 3 of the largest events that she had through that series. And basically making room for Black women was that number one idea. We saw all the other events happening around LA and how, I might get invited. I'll be the only Black woman, or there might be 2 of us, or maybe one this week and another one next week. And we were like, no, we need to make room for Black women. Like, we need to literally make room. Like, here we are. So the first event was all Black women. Second event was all Black writers. Third event was all writers of color. And I said, okay, so that's us. So basically the way that making room for Black women functions now is that everything that I do as a host, I place under making room for Black women, because if ever I'm asked to host or curate or do anything for anybody, that's me making room for Black women. That is my intent. That is my goal. That is the mission every single time. And even when I'm asked to be a part of an event, I always ask, like, so what's diversity looking like on your lineup? Do you have any other Black women? Right. I'm that is my, so it's like, it's more of a motto or a goal now. And it also led to me doing other things. Like, I'm also part of a curating team that we just started last year called South Central Spits Fire. And so that's another thing. Like, okay, like, let's bring South Central into all the spaces and all the places and bring people out. And so yeah, making room for Black women, it's like, I need to get that tattooed on me somewhere, because it's literally that's the goal at all times. Like, where the Black girls at? They're not in here? Okay, hold on, let me open the door. Come on, Black girls, let's get in here. Pack it out. Because we do, we do. We pop up and show out. You don't have to ask for us, we're gonna show up. I mean, that's really the
Yeah.
thing.
No. And I think that's so important too. And it's kind of like I think, and you tell me, because it seems when you tell that story to me, what I take away from it too is there's an important aspect of that mentorship and menteeship. That's kind of how this kind of got the ball rolling for you to even ask those questions. Where are the Black women sitting at? And I find I want to ask you this. I feel like when I sometimes look at some Black women spaces, I'm like, we are kind of in some ways we do lack in that mentorship and someone from a different generation helping out someone that is starting off in that career, whatever your career may be. You know what I mean? All work is work, right? There's not enough people kind of coming, reaching that hand down, and or maybe reaching that hand down to really help out in terms of mentorship and menteeship. But I also understand there's so many things people are dealing with, Black women specifically, where it's like we may not have that space, that be in that head space, you know what I'm saying, to really even reach that handout. But it's so needed because that's really how you build. What do you think?
One thing I noticed, and I noticed this in poetry, I noticed it in academia, I noticed it everywhere, is that there was like a cliff where, okay, so there's some Black women here, but they're barely hanging on. They got to keep themselves. Okay. We do not have time to try to get everybody else. Let me just get in here. Let me get a foothold first before I can reach back and grab you, because I'm slipping already. And I cannot fault the Black women and Black people who found themselves in positions where they're like, I'm just trying to survive by myself. I don't know if I can really help you like that, right? Let me just learn it first. And that's definitely a thing, right? And also, as you said, a Black woman, we're already at capacity, the nurture, right? We're already at the capacity because we're already mentoring everybody. Like, naturally, I told a friend, the moment I got my full-time gig as a professor, I became a mentor.
Yeah, you have to,
like
by default.
just immediately. Like, I was already mentoring, like, lightly here and there, but it was like, no, now I'm here, I'm paying attention. And so the same thing with poetry, the same thing. So I think that more Black women are looking for mentors than maybe even need to sometimes. I think that some Black women have not been empowered enough to see, like, yo, you can mentor now. Like, but no, actually, you got it. What you actually need are comrades. You actually need folks at your level with you to link with, to have strength and accountability across in a linear way, right? Instead of necessarily needing a mentor ahead of you, you actually have all the skills and the knowledge and the need. And I think that comes from, like, giving Black women in particular like a deficit mindset of, like, well, you're not really ready because you've never been here before and no one here looks like you, so obviously you're missing something. So imposter syndrome, keep working, and then maybe you'll be good enough. Like, nah, you're good enough right now, baby. Go ahead and reach back down now. It's good. You steady, right? And so I always joke that Natasha Dayon, she's the author of a novel called The Perishing, a novel called Grace. She didn't really have a choice but to get me as a mentee, because I was like, I'm going to call you and I'm going to ask you questions. And then she called me and she was telling me things, like, I was like, no, because do you understand? Like, I need help. Like, I really do need help. I need to understand things. And she was just so willing and open and ready. And of course she had the capacity, but I mean, she literally does 45 things. She's a lawyer, she's a mom, she's a wife, she's a writer, she was hosting things, she's doing, like, she does so many things. I was like, just if you have time though. Do you have okay, you do have time. Okay, so I got a question, like that kind of thing. But yeah, more Black women can probably be mentors than we think, because we've been told we're not ready. But baby, you ready. Mentor now.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a thing though, and I think that's something that I personally feel like we don't talk about enough. And it's such an encapsulating predicament, because it has so many threads to it. You know what I mean? It's not black and white. There's so many areas and shades of gray with it, that I think a lot of Black women are facing and Black girls are facing. And it becomes such a thing of, like, I think, like you said, you make a great point where it's like people, it's almost like people tell you, oh, well, you're not ready yet. You know what I mean? You think you have to reach this certain level, when it's no, you've already reached the level, probably in tenfold. You've probably done it over 100 times already. But it's kind of this self-doubt that is just ingrained in the society that we live in, that tells, a lot of Black women, no, until you get 10 times what someone else is getting, that's when you became a master at your, you know what I mean? But it's like, bro, like, you've already reached that. You're already enough. You know what I mean? And that's kind of something that I think a lot of us do face. And no, that capacity too. It's, you're so many things to so many people, and it's almost like a default. Like you said, with academia, you reach a certain point, people just automatically, yo, you're a mentor. You need to be the diversity in this department. You need to be the beacon of hope, shining light on everybody. You need to be the speaker at all these events, because that's who you are now. And it's unfortunate that that becomes the default. And it's like, I don't know how do you even defeat that? Do you think you can ever defeat that?
Ooh, do I think I can defeat it? Boundaries. And I'm working on that. This is a work in progress, like really saying I have capacity for this, and not for this right now or ever. Like being, because the boundaries are with yourself. Like you telling yourself, like you could do it all. You could be Superwoman, but you don't have to, and they're gonna be all right. Or it might fail, but they still gonna be all right, and you're gonna be all right, and that's okay. Like you have to really be. I try my best to be direct. I'm a very direct person, but I try my best to be direct when it comes to people asking me to do things or like to take on things or to be this thing in the room, and just like to be honest, like, hey, I cannot be on this committee if there's no other Black people, period. So find somebody else and then let me know and I'll be here. Or there's no other person of color or something like that, or no other women in the group. I can't do this reading from only Black person. I'm so sorry. Are there any other Black people you're going to be having in here? Like I really have to be really direct, and because I know my capacity of like, I don't want to be the diversity at Bridgette and Stir. And now you feel good about yourself, like I can't do that. But the same thing comes like all the asks, right? Like I don't take on more mentees right now because I know I don't have the capacity to actually help. Right? I could be a point person to ask questions like, yo, I got a question. I can answer questions all day in the DMs, email, whether it's academic or poetry, but I cannot take on a mentee right now because I know I would fail them because I have others, right? And I'm like, so let them scoot on through. And then if I got some more, I let y'all know that we can slide you in. But I used to try to cover everybody. Like, Black women try to cover and take care of everybody because we had to for so long that I was like, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm sleepy. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I haven't looked at my basic needs because I'm trying to make sure you got a gig tomorrow. Like, let's go over your poetry again. Like, nah, I don't have time, but I don't leave them hanging. I'm like, I'm still in your pocket, right? I'm still in your community. You still got me, but I don't have the capacity to be who you need me to be. And I know who you need. So it'll be a lie to say, yes, I can, when I know you need more.
Facts. Yeah, no, I like, boundaries. That's what it is. And I think that you made a great point right there. Like, you'll be all right. You know what I mean? The kids will be all right. The people gonna be all right. We all gonna be all right. We'll solve this step by step. So I like that a lot. And kind of moving on, you know what? So you came out, like you had already mentioned a little bit before, you came out with your first book of poetry, Be Trouble, during the pandemic in 2020. For you, kind of like how long, I know for a lot of people, the first thing that they come out with, sometimes that's in the making for years. Is maybe it was it's been a dream and you finally picked that dream from the sky and put it down on some concrete. How long for you was that in the making, or was it kind of just a fast process to kind of finally come out with Be Trouble? And did you know, was it planned during the pandemic, or the pandemic happened and you're like, well, my book's also here, so it is what it is?
Well, okay, so I'll start the last part. The last part is, no, it wasn't planned for the pandemic. It came out February 15th, wow. 2020.
Wow.
Huge book release. Probably a super spreader event, Lord knows, right? And then a month later, everything was shut down. Like I literally had gone to a meeting at work and they were like, there's this thing going on. You might be out of school for a while. And I was like, really? What's that about that? And then suddenly that was all I heard about. And I was like, okay. But so no, that wasn't planned. However, the book itself, I started attending poetry events really for the first time as an active like a feature at the events in 2017. And people kept asking me, do you have a book? And I was like, baby, I haven't written poetry like really for real in like 5 years. I have 7 poems that I feel comfortable showing anybody. Like I had my manuscript from grad school. I had all that stuff, but like, no, this is the 7 poems I got. So just, and I built these 7 poems over like 6 months. Like, so just give me a chance. It's gonna be a while. And I realized that I was writing a lot. Like I just kept writing. And so in about spring of 2018, I put together a manuscript and was like, this could be a book and it could have a title. Okay, put a title on there. And then by, I'll say it was October of 2018, I went to a bar in a bad mood. This is the story I tell. I went to a bar in a bad mood. I don't drink alcohol, so I couldn't even feel better, child. I went to a bar in a bad mood, and my publisher, who was a friend of mine, Chiwan Choi, and his wife, Judith Choi, he's like, can I read your book? And I was like, sure. I sent it to him in a Google Doc, and he sat there reading it next to me in this bar during a poetry reading. And I was like, can you stop that, please? Because the phone, the glow of your phone, like I'm distracted. I'm already in a bad mood. And he was like, all right, so spring 2020. And I was like, spring 2020 what? What do you say to me? Your book, spring 2020. And I was like, okay. Writ Large wants to publish my book. I was like, what are you talking about? It didn't even feel real. So it took me like a year really for it to be like, this coming out for real, huh? It's a whole book and everything. It's going to be in a store. So yeah, it did happen really fast to me. There was a gap of like that year, like during the production of it, of the editing and fixing the poems and going back and adding this and changing this, that kind of stuff. But for me, it happened really fast, but it was a long time coming because I think I had just stored up all this creative energy for, like I'm saying, like 5 years of where I was like, I'm writing a poem every now and then, where suddenly 2017, 2018, just explosion of poetry. Every week, new poems. And I was getting invited to events to read. And I'm like, well, I need a new poem for the event. What am I going to do? Okay, I'll write it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of thing. So it did happen pretty fast. This next book ain't going to be like that. I'm just listen. Everybody listen to the sound of my voice right now. The next book not going to be like that. Okay, just I want to let you know that. Okay, the pandemic brain is a lot different, but it will be as equally as intentional, because it's still driven by what I see and observe, what I'm going through, what we're all going through, and be timely, is what I hope it's going to be. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer. Okay. And I'm saying that wishfully thinking a little bit longer, but it'll be worth the wait.
Absolutely. No, that's yeah, worth the wait. Well, there we go. Yeah, I think a lot of people, they hear a story like that, they're like, yo, can I sign up too? Like as someone in a bar. I mean, that's a pretty, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty amazing. I mean, really, like, what do you think of that? Like when you look back on that, are you like, I can't even fathom that is how my kind of my start in publishing my own work happened. Like
It
what
feels
do you think?
unreal. It's unreal. It is literally unreal. I when I came out of graduate school, my little manuscript for my MFA program, I shopped that thing around to 10, 12 publishers. I'm submitting to contests and rejection, rejection, rejection. And thank goodness for that, honestly, because the book, it could have been better, right? It wasn't really me. I had changed myself a lot for graduate school just to kind of like fit into that space, right? That there weren't many Black women in. But I thought that's how it worked, right? And it does work that way. Like in reality, you have to keep sending it to people. But there's also a contingent of folks a little bit more privileged who know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and now their book is out and they're releasing the book every year because their homeboy has a publishing company, or their father-in-law works with this big five publisher. Like there are people who have other kinds of connections that they can exploit, and I didn't have those connections. And so while it felt like unreal to me, it also felt like, well, no, this is how it actually should be. I think a Black writer should be able to know another writer of color who has a press, and that writer of color should be able to put you on. Like, yeah, no, I can publish your book, right? Like that should be how it works. We shouldn't have to wait to be always recognized by other folks. It's like, oh, but you know what, you're a little bit special. I think I need a Black girl for my new catalog. So I think, yeah, maybe I'll get you this time, which is how it often would feel, right? Like, well, we just published a Black girl last year. I don't think we need to publish a Black girl this year. Like, don't take a risk on me because you like Amanda Gorman. Don't take a risk on me because you read Rita Dove. Take a risk on me because you know my stuff is good, and you actually are part of my community, and you actually think my work deserves to be in print, as most work does, to be spread. So like, it feels unreal, but there's a contingent of society that's like, no, that's how it works.
Yeah. 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 No, absolutely. I think I love that point because it is true. Like it's almost because when people, it's like, and this is like an almost unescapable thing, like, where it's like people, they come into these spaces, Black women especially, if you become that kind of token, like you said, yeah, well, I loved Amanda Gorman this year. Let's get another Black girl up in here. And it is this kind of level where it's like, it's denigrating to you. It's very degrading because it's you're just a token, right? And it's kind of like, for people to actually just say, yo, I just love you just as you are. I love your work. I love what you're saying. I love what you're doing. Let's make something. Let's try to build something. I have some resources. What do you think? Let's try to collaborate. That feels so much better than just, yeah, that kind of usual, like, well, we need another Black person. We need another Black woman here. So I totally agree with you. Like that's the way how it should definitely work. And I mean, yeah, anyone listening, yeah, that's how you should collaborate and build with people. So I'll mess with that heavy. For you, talk about, I mean, but also talk about the book Be Trouble. It's in lowercase, it has that slash. What does that mean? And she's holding up, for those that are listening, she's holding up right now. It's a beautiful cover. Tell us, what is Be Trouble? What was that kind of based off of? That's a very interesting title. It's B/Trouble. What was the book? What is that kind of unveiling to us? Your first book of poetry.
Well, I'll tell you this. At first, it was me being indecisive. Okay, that's the legit bit. I had my manuscript little document. I said, the book is going to be called B. because it's just me being who I am. It's me, I be, we be, they be, like it's that kind of be, right? It's the be that we all are when it comes to AAVE, right? Like that's what it has to be. And then I was like, but also trouble, but also like it's a little trouble because I live my life. I think I'm a very good person. I'm very kind, and I'm not very sweet, but I'm kind. And I feel like I always stayed out of trouble. And then people would hear the poetry and be like, okay, so you get down like that? You talk like that? My dad was like, your poetry is kind of gritty, like a gangster rapper. I said, well, okay, I'll take it. It's a little troublesome, right? And so be in trouble just kept sticking with me, and I couldn't pick between them. And I was like, well, really, it's a directive, right? Of be trouble, like really go be trouble, like trouble, like be a problem for these people. And then it's also two different ideas, like just be, but also sometimes you're going to be a little bit of trouble, right? Sometimes you're going to walk into a space and you trouble the waters a little bit there. And so be trouble just stuck. And I'm like, no, it has to be both. And I can't actually separate it. And it needs to look like one solid thing. I got it tattooed on my arm right now. It needs to be just that. It needs to be that together. You could be other stuff, but be trouble for this, right? And so it had to be that. So yeah, that was be trouble. At first it was like, I'm just being lazy. I can't pick nothing. Oh no, but actually no, it's be trouble. It just made sense.
Yeah, I like that. So it's not this binary, but it's literally at the same time. It's I be trouble. Like it's you are being, you are trouble. It's everything at once, everything everywhere, all at once, like the damn movie. I mean, like I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's a kind of a very powerful thing. What is it for you so far? So now the book 3 years. I mean, because 2020 is now 2023. What has the reception been for your debut so far?
Oh, you know what? It felt like, okay, this is my imaginary friend that I wrote that some people can see it, but not really. And somehow during the pandemic, people were like, oh no, I bought your book. I'm like, where you live? You don't even live in LA. How you know what's going on? So the reception, I think, has been great. Obviously, poetry is not selling out like hotcakes. We're not selling the thousands, right? We're not going up on the list like that. But the number of people who have decided to teach my book in a classroom has been an honor for me as a teacher, right? Like legitimately a person at my school is teaching my book in their class. And so my publisher called me and he was like, yo, so we're trying to get some books to the college, when do you need them? I was like, I don't need them. I'm not teaching my book. This is a whole other person, right? Like that, like that thing, like that, the reception in that way, the reception of people being like, no, I do want to buy it. I do want to see it. Or, do you have a book? Like I have like the kindest older Black people who are not big poetry folks. Like they'll be like, so do you have the book on you? Can I see it? And I'm like, yes. And then having young people tell me that they read it in a class or their teacher said to check this book out, that feels wild. Like y'all can see my imaginary friend and you just like making friends with her and I'm not even there. Like that was wild to me. I thought that the only way I would be able to really get this book out there was if I was in the room, right? Like I have to be at the reading. I got to be in your classroom. I got to be in this space. And then you got to hear me and see all the me that I am, because I'm a whole lot in a space, and then want to buy the book. And obviously the pandemic took that physicality away from it, right? And so it really was like, if you heard about it, you saw a poem on TikTok or Instagram, or someone shared this video of me from 2 years ago, whatever it is. Okay, now you want to buy the book, or just simply, hey, I heard you had a book, without asking for the performance part of it. That was shocking. So yeah, the reception has been great in my opinion. I didn't expect like, a world tour, a whirlwind, nothing like that. But the fact that people can even see this book, touch it, read it. I get pictures in my DMs from people like, look what came in the mail today. And I'm like, yo, y'all still buying? Thank you so much. Like that thing, I would give it away if I could, right? If I could just keep a box of them, but y'all buying, just thank you. This is the only copy I got. So I appreciate you. This is all I got right here. So I can't give you mine, but if you want to get one, go ahead.
Absolutely. No, it's an amazing feeling. I mean, just seeing your work, especially people from all over the place, just picking up and reading it. You're like, whoa, so y'all mess with me heavy. That's what's up. I mean, really, that is such a great feeling. I could only imagine. You know what, and kind of just talking more about just spoken word and poetry, like you say, you're a grittier
according to my dad,
according to your pops. But it's like for you, just in general, just from your experience performing all over the place, do you think there's even enough, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, do you think there's even enough spaces for poetry and spoken word just in our world in general?
I think there can be more. I think there's a good amount, but I also think that there are smaller places or just quieter places, I'll say, where folks don't expect to find poetry, that there are poets waiting to share. And because poetry for so many people, particularly for African Americans, for Black folks across the diaspora, poetry, you know, spoken word, storytelling out loud, like it's such an experience where if you are in a space where no one else is doing that, yeah, it does feel weird, right? You're probably on YouTube watching Def Poetry Jam videos over and over again, just trying to get a little fix because you cannot get on the stage where you are. You can't just show up to an open mic and read a poem. Folks gonna be like, girl, get off the stage. Bring on the guy with the guitar. I don't want to hear all this sad girl music or the sad girl poetry. I think there could definitely be more spaces dedicated to expression through the form of poetry and spoken word. I think there could also be space to kind of expand people's ideas around poetry as a thing that can be read, shared, recited, performed, whatever they want to call it, and what that can look like and sound like. And I think there's like, you know, people who are like, well, I'm a slam poet. I don't do regular poetry. It's like, no, slam poetry is regular poetry. Slam poetry is poetry. Slam is a particular something that this might not be, but it's still valuable and it's still important, right? This poetry might live on the page, that one on the stage. That's cool. It's just two different versions of the, like, kind of expanding people's ideas around it. Like I often tell folks, I'm like, you know, I'm not really a spoken word artist because I respect spoken word artistry and the work it goes into really developing your cadence, figuring out your rhythm, your performance nature, the way that you present yourself and hold yourself on stage, memorization, which baby, I ain't got it. I cannot memorize for nothing. Okay. But I think if I'm in that space, if they invite me to come in, I do what I gotta do. Right. I come in, I give a good show, right? I'm gonna read out my book, but you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely needs to be more spaces. Absolutely.
Yeah, facts. No, I think I completely agree with you. It's I think so many, and I say this a lot on this show, like there's so many closet poets, so many people just they have things that they want to say, but it's like, okay, I don't want to be perceived this way. I don't know how can, you know, people haven't seen me, you know, revealing who I am through words, all these things, you know, so many things collude people from stopping themselves from really writing poetry and really performing their pieces. So I think, yeah, no, absolutely. There needs to be so many more spaces. And, you know, you are doing that. I mean, you know what, through your other projects, like talk about a little these kind of these projects that you have, such as Young Black and Tenure Track and We Be Reading Wednesdays. Tell us a little bit how you kind of got started with those and how those kind of all intercept and all work together to kind of be an even bigger platform to get you know, your words out.
Oh, thank you for asking about that. So Young Black and Tenure Track, which I'm tenured now. I received tenure during the pandemic in 2020.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But it began as the simple fact that, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, I did not have any friends who were on the tenure track or tenured in academia. I had zero friends who were already like at my level going through that. I was the only one out of my like little group of educators that I knew. Wow. And so when I got that job, and it's my dream job, I was like, okay, let me document this so y'all can know what this feels like. So I can tell you about it because maybe it feels different. I don't know. I've been an adjunct for 7 years. I don't know. It might be different. And so Young Black and Tenure Track, I just randomly said one day on Instagram stories, and I was like, okay, no, that fits. That's a thing now. That's a thing now. And so it became more than just me talking about my day and like what I was going through and what I was experiencing in the tenure process. It became talks about diversity in education, diversity in hiring in education, diversity in what we teach students in higher education. I did a talk at a major conference. I'm like, okay, what can I do with this to spread the word and to also be a resource? Because obviously I cannot mentor everybody, but I can tell you what it's like for me. And to kind of like seriously humanize what it's like to be in academia like this, because we are used to being on the other side of the desk, seeing the teacher, seeing the people in there, seeing the professor, and like, who knows how they got that? They just must be really smart. I don't even know. They're doing it though. To like really make it like, you know, I'm a regular girl from South Central. I'm about to go eat some hot Cheetos, but I'm also gonna grade these papers. Okay. I'm also the only Black lady, you know, when I'm in this meeting, and this is what it feels like for me. It's not magical. Like we earn it and we get it and you can get it too. And so that was Young Black and Tenure Track. And I'm going to be revamping it coming this year. Now that I'm tenured, kind of settle a little bit more like, okay, what are we going to do now? What kind of change can I make right now? Right. The Black professor, what can we do together? And We Be Reading Wednesdays, funny enough, was just in response to 2020. It was shortly after George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were murdered. I was just incredibly sad, as most of us were already going through. And I'm like, okay, I need to read because I love reading. And everything I read right now makes me sad. What can I read to make me happy? My friend said, oh, you should read a romance novel because they end like happily, like they're romance novels. And I was like, Bet. And suddenly I was reading romance novels like a freaking chain smoker. I was reading romance novels, put one down, pick another one up, and I want to talk about it. But all my friends are like, girl, we want to talk about damn romance. Okay, the books ended great. That's not interesting. And I'm like, nah, it is interesting. I bet you. And so I started posting on Instagram. Like we be reading Wednesdays. Every Wednesday I will post a video about a book I read. And people liked it. I mean, it wasn't like a smash hit, everybody's talking about it, but like I found a community of other readers that read everything, but especially Black romance. And we could commiserate about these people who are made up in these books, but also distract ourselves, but also envelop ourselves in love and light and funny things during a time where everything was horrible. Like I remember a car literally ran into my house. In the room I'm sitting in right now, a car ran into my house. Wow. I was reading a romance novel at the time.
Jesus Christ.
And that's I took insane. A nap, the car at the house. The next day, I needed to record a video for the series. I'm like, but the video has to, that was a Tuesday. No, that was a Monday. I need to record for Wednesday. And so I drove out away from my house, obviously, because I couldn't record here. And I was like, yeah, so this is the novel I just finished reading, and also a car hit my house. Let's get into this. And I'm talking about, I was in such a deep depression already. I had lost 2 relatives. I was already dark, like, and everything else. That was my only light every week. And so I've kept up the reading. I'm literally still reading romance novels, like 90 Going North. I'm still reading them a lot because it felt like this was a thing that gave me comfort. And I discovered that a lot of friends who are poets, who are educators, who do not follow me for no daggone romance novels, they're like, oh yeah, me too. What's that? I can read something like that too. Or like they found their own thing to read.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? Like make time for yourself. Like legit, like you are a Black woman, make time for yourself. You can read this thing that's frivolous because you need it. You need to see love. We all touch-starved during the pandemic. Read about, get into the salacious if you need to. Read something that makes you feel good, and that's okay. That's okay. So that's those 2 series. They were really for me to anchor myself in one way, to show people that, I'm human. Black women are human. We do these things. We have these feelings, and also say, I definitely have time to read about somebody falling in love. Don't you?
Hell yeah. Shit. Life is way too hard. Crap. Yeah. No, I like that a lot. That is something that's so powerful, I think, too. It is very powerful to kind of just find comfort in just the mundane, the romance, the sex, the silly, the stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. Like it's okay to find comfort in that, because I like that a lot. And I don't think people allow themselves to find the comfort in it. I think that's a big blocker, a barrier for a lot of people. They don't allow themselves to go there. But it's like, why not allow yourself to go there? You know what I mean?
And like, think about it critically. Like, I remember I was talking about this one novel and I said, okay, let's talk about that good race shit real quick about this novel. Somebody was like, that good race shit. It was like, yeah, it's the race. I'm Black. The people are Black in the book. We're going to talk about race. You thought we didn't get critical because the book was about love?
Yeah.
I'm a literature professor. You think I'm not going to get critical? I teach literature for a living. You think I'm not going to stop and look at this book about these people falling in love and talk about how the girl wore a bonnet to bed? That's important in Black love.
Yes, that is. But people skip over that, and it's this thing, people just skip over it, and I wonder if it's out of comfortability.
Absolutely, it's uncomfortable. Like, there's this quote by Cicely Tyson. She did it in her masterclass talk, and she said when she was being interviewed by the LA Times, I want to say for Sounder, the interviewer, a white woman, obviously said to her, like, I didn't think I could relate to your character in that movie because I didn't think Black people fell in love like we fall in love. Like, it's like, Regal even then, like, hey, this Cicely, stop playing on her name. But like the idea of like, you didn't think we could fall in love like you fall in love. Like, so I keep that in my mind, right? I'm like, you didn't think we could fall in love like you fall in love? We can be tender and vulnerable and all, like, so it's really about like humanizing Black people. Like, I think, don't get me started on the romance, because I think it as a person who does not write romance at all, like I tell people, I'm like, look, ain't no juices dripping, ain't no lovey-dovey hugging, snuggling up in this book. You're gonna get some hard truths in this book. Read the romance for that. Get both sides. Right? Like, I need both sides. I write what I write because I can read what I read.
Yeah, there we go. I like that. I write what I write because I can read what I read. I like that. Snaps to that. Yeah. No, it's so important too that people just realize, yo, we're all like fucking multi-dimensional human beings somewhere just made from the ether.
Right. Like, we just out here floating on this rock, y'all. Please.
I mean, really, and it's that quote that you said from Cicely Tyson, may she rest in peace. But it's one of those things, yeah. Like it's you're dumbfounded when people say that to you because it's like, what were you thinking? Do you think I was an alien? Like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? Like, I'm not. It's you don't even it doesn't even click to you. But no, I think it's so important because you know that you have those spaces that you're creating that with your craft, with your art, with you know, academia, because people need to maybe get to the place where it's not uncomfortable. You need to get people out of that comfort zone thinking that these things are just out of the ordinary. It really does. You have to push people and really make them put it right in front of their faces to really make them you know, realize these things are happening. So no, I love that. And where can folks check out Young Black and Tenure Track as well as We Be Reading Wednesdays?
Well, Young Black and Tenure Track right now lives in the highlights on my Instagram stories, and We Reading Wednesdays is every Wednesday. So I'm on a hiatus right now because I'm on winter break, y'all. I'm chilling. I'm supposed to be relaxing. We're gonna see how that goes. But check back on Wednesdays. I normally post every month anyway what I'm reading, no matter what's going on, and I'm always down to talk about it. I'm in my IG stories heavy, y'all. I'm in there. I'm basically vlogging my life, talking about all kinds of random things. If you want to get real up close and personal with me, we covering everything in the Instagram stories. Okay. But yeah, that's where it lives for right now. I'm working on building out the websites for both, where folks can find them archived and also find text posts, also find things written out, also have guest folks to come and talk about these same experiences, about whether it's teaching in academia or romance. So I'm working on a little bit of everything. I always have my hands in so many pots. I need to figure out how to streamline in 2023 because I'm always like, yeah, I'm buying that URL. We're going to do that thing. We'll see what happens come summer. It should all be together. Okay. Give me a couple months.
Absolutely. So tell us, you know, as we're wrapping up, I have one final question for you. We asked this on the Poet Speaks podcast. It is the question. Tell me, why do you need to get your words out?
Ooh. Because if I don't, and to quote Zora Neale Hurston, the illustrious, they'll say it was all good, right? They'll say that it was fine. If I don't get my words out, people will be like, oh no, she was cool. She was all right. Or they'll say, oh no, she was difficult. Or she was really sweet. They'll just say whatever because I'm not defining myself. I'm not showing who I am. They'll say I loved it. Like I have to get my words out because they're mine. And no one can say them like me. No one can tell you what this felt like but me in this moment. Not even past me can really tell you about this. Not even future me, but me right now has to document how this feels right now. So nobody can say, oh, it was good. It was fine. Or she was wrong. She was terrible. Nah. My words. I'll tell you how it was.
I love that. Ooh, gave me chills. Yes, you got to tell it how it was for you. I love that a lot. All right. Well, thanks so much, Bianca. Now, tell us. I mean, Bianca, Bridgette. No, Bridgette, Bianca. Your name is
both.
Not Bianca. But oh, there we go. All right. But no, it's been such a wonderful conversation. I mean, you've dropped so many gems, and I feel like people, when they listen to this, they're really gonna relate to it, and they're really gonna take a lot away from this because it's a beautiful thing. You know, when I see someone, and what I love about doing this show is, you know, you meet people, they're very passionate about their work, and that radiates off you. Like, it's so clearly obvious that you love what you do, and you love being able to not only do poetry but teach it to other people, and just your presence alone, just it's really touching. So I know people, they're really going to enjoy hearing you out and hearing this episode. But do tell me, for the rest of 2023, what are we looking forward to? What can folks look forward to? What do you got coming out? And again, please do say again where we can currently find all your stuff. I know you said Instagram. What is the handle, website, all that good stuff?
Got you. So for 2023, I have a series of events coming out with South Central Spits Fire, with my co-curator, Gustavo Guerra Vasquez, all about South LA, all about us, all about our locations where we are bringing poetry to our community, every corner of it. So keep track of me for that. I'm also going to be hosting a couple of readings here and there. I can't say exactly where right now, but I will be hosting a workshop with Beyond Baroque in Venice. And that's really big, right? Because honestly, they are not in South LA, but I'm trying to bring the South LA to the beach, bring it to Venice. Okay, so please show up. Going to be a scholarship available for that as well. That's going to be happening in March. I have a few things that I'm writing right now that I think people will love. Okay, I love them, but I think that when they come out, they're really going to hit how we feel right now in this. I'm really trying to capture what it feels like to be here at this time. But yeah, that's what I have going on right now. I'm not a super busy girl, but it seems like we're back outside. So look for me outside. I'll be everywhere. But if you want to find me online, you can find me at bridgettebianca.com. You can also find me at Bridget Bianca on Instagram. You can find me at the Bridge Bianca on Twitter because somebody stole my name already. You can even find me now on TikTok. Now, Lord help, we're gonna see what happens on TikTok, y'all, at Bridget Bianca. But I'm everywhere. If you Google Bridget Bianca, it's me. Probably has blue hair in the picture, but listen, I'm versatile. Okay, it's me still.
Y'all, it's still her. Don't worry. All right. Well, perfect. Thanks so much, Bridget. And everyone, Bridget's, all of her stuff will be in the description box, no matter where you're listening to this podcast. So you can check out all of her amazing links, check out what she's up to, and all her secret shows that she didn't quite want to reveal yet, but she will reveal eventually. And we will have the link for it. So you can go ahead and check that out. All right, Bridget, thank you so much for being a guest today on the Poet Speaks podcast.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Everyone, this again is the Poet Speaks podcast. Listen to us everywhere that you can listen to podcasts. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.